Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Manicured by Jill. So today I'm going to be doing a video on how to do chunky glitter. This was actually requested in the Fairy Glamor Facebook group, and I know that chunky glitters can be very difficult to work with, very tricky, especially if you're a beginner. So I just wanted to share my process for how I dip chunky glitters, and today we're going to do Paparazzi by Fairy Glamor. It's super pretty. Super fun. You can see there are little stars in there and it's just so fun. We are going to go through the whole process and I'll show you what I do. So if you are a beginner to dipping especially, cupcake liners are your friend. You definitely want to use these as much as possible, even if you're doing solid color dips. I wish that someone had told me that from day one because my life is so much easier now that I use cupcake liners. So especially for chunky glitters, we're just gonna dump a good amount of it in there. So we have it in our cupcake liner here. So basically, I do 2 dips of chunky glitter. My goal for the first dip is to do a super thin layer of my base and to try to get it into like the finest parts that are just like almost like fine shimmer. Usually chunky glitters have some kind of like finer glitters that are in there as well, so I'm just gonna avoid like the chunky spots if I can. This is really chunky, so I'm just gonna try to go for like a finer the finer glitters that are in there. And then the second layer we'll go for the chunkiest pieces, so that we'll get most of like the big pieces on the top layer, and then we'll dip clear over that. So let's get started. So I dip, I get my liquid out of the jar and then I just wipe it on the treads, like on the side, so that I can do a very thin amount of base on here so that it's very controlled. And then we're just gonna lay it face down, tap, and then you can see there are some that are sticking up like this. You're just gonna press them down or they'll just come off on their own as you're tapping down, just like that. So you're just gonna press down, and you can see that this is just, you can see some of the smaller glitters on there. So these are not the super chunky pieces, so that's definitely good for our first layer. We just want a nice base. And then you're just gonna press it down. If you don't wanna get your fingers on this, you can use like a plastic baggie. I know a lot of people use to do this. I don't really mind getting my finger on this, so I'm just gonna keep tapping with my finger. You just wanna get it nice and flat. I think that's really the key, is just tapping this until it's nice and flat so that your second application will be just as smooth. Because really the key for the chunky glitters is getting that smooth surface, because if you can do that, then it'll save you so much time buffing later on. So I think this looks pretty good for our base. You can see there are some bald spots, but no worries there. We'll get that covered the next time. And then even on your second pass, if you still have some bald spots, you can always go in and add some in whatever spot you want later on. Okay, so this looks good. So we're gonna go in for our second pass. Okay, so I've got my glitter brush, so I'm just gonna brush off the excess, so we make sure that we get all the extra off. So that looks pretty good. And then what I'm gonna do now is, I still have some of that finer glitter in here facing up when I poured it. So now we're just gonna shake it and we're gonna make all those chunkies, the chunkiest of the chunkies, come to the very top. Because when we lay down for our second pass, I wanna get the stars, I wanna get the big pieces on top. So that's what's gonna be showcased on that top layer. This is just kinda like my background glitters. So that's what we're gonna do. So I think I've shaken this pretty good. So here we go for our second one. For the second layer, I'm a little more generous with my base, just slightly. You still don't want to goop it on there because you still want it to be a smooth application, but you might need just a little bit more than that first layer. And I don't actually have the Fairy Glamor liquids, so I can't speak to that process. I would think it's very similar. I just have a different brand system for the liquids, and my activator is actually just from a drugstore, so. Okay, we've got our nice layer, and you're gonna wipe off your brush now. See that little glitter piece I had to get off my brush? And just lay flat. Let's try to get some of those stars. And then you're gonna tap. It's gonna look crazy, it's okay. Don't panic. I'm just gonna push off the ones that are on the ends, because some of this is just too much. We don't need all of that. Just a little too much going on here. So just pick some of them off if there's just too much, and you can always go back and add more later too. And then just press it flat with either your finger or a baggie, whatever works best for you. And then if you need to do a third pass, you can always just hand place. Like here, I'm probably gonna hand place some. I think I do want to hand place some more of the stars and certain ones, so we can do that at our next round. So this one takes, I think, a little more than the typical. I've worked with other chunky glitters from Fairy Glamor, and I've been able to do it on 2 passes, but I think this one will do a third one just so I can hand place the ones where I want them. So we've done 2 dips so far, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hand place some because I do want to get more of the stars on top. So what I'm gonna do, I have a dotting tool, and this is really good for that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to put the base on the specific parts that I want to put glitter on, like right here. And then I'm also gonna put it on my dotting tool so that I can pick up the chunky pieces that I want specifically. Like I want a star. So here's my star, and I'm just gonna hand place it, like right there, because that's where I want them. So we got our star. I'm sorry if I was out of camera. I'm a newbie to YouTube. I'm a YouTube noob. So I'm gonna add some more base on this spot here. Then I'm gonna add more to this end of my dotting tool, and then wipe off your brush so you don't contaminate your liquids. So there's my star. I think this is just one of those ones that you just have to give it a little bit more care, just because it's just a really beautiful chunky, and it's even chunkier than some of the others that I've worked with, like Sky Castle. That one is very chunky as well, and that one I was able to do in 2 dips, and some of them are just a little needier than others, and that's okay. It just takes a little practice. I would not have been able to do something like this as a newbie dipper. So it just takes time and practice. Don't get discouraged if you don't get it the first time, because it just takes some time and some practice. Okay, so we're done with applying our chunky glitter. I did 2 dips of laying it into the cupcake liner, and then I did one more pass at just individually putting little pieces on with my dotting tool. And this is how we're looking. There we go, finally focused. So now I'm gonna dip this in clear, and I have a little trick that I use when I'm dipping this on to prevent it from getting cloudy. I don't know if anybody else does this except me. I did see another YouTuber do this and I thought it was really smart. I don't remember who the YouTuber was to give him credit, but I thought it was genius. I use it, so I'll show you what I do. You just have to be really careful because it can get a little you have to be careful not to contaminate your liquids when you do this, but I will show you. So I have my clear, and I have this labeled glitter, so I have 2 different clears. So I have a clear for my solids and then a clear for glitters. So this is my glitter one. So you're gonna take your base and you're gonna get your liquid right over it. So apply your base to the whole thing here, and then you're gonna dip it as you would normally for a layer of clear. And then immediately after, you're gonna tap it, and then you're gonna brush off the extra right off. You see that? And then you're gonna go over it again with your liquids. It helps to get all that extra clear off of it to prevent it from getting cloudy. And then I'm gonna do that one more time because I think a chunky glitter like this should really have 2 layers of clear to protect it when we're buffing. I can see this purple one looks just a little bit loose, so I want to encapsulate that again just to make sure that it's going to be secure when I'm buffing it. So yeah, you can tell it's kind of loose here. If it's loose the second time, I might just pull it off. We'll see what happens, but we'll get there. So you can see it looks pretty clear after putting the clear on, so I like to brush it off like that. You just have to really be diligent about wiping your brush off so that you don't get all that clear goop into your liquids. So that's the only drawback for me personally. So I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna do a layer of base. And I'm gonna do a little bit more on this one spot because I want to make sure it's covered nice and secure. Okay. Wipe it off. Dippy dip. Tap. And then again, you're gonna brush off the excess. And then I'm going to go over it with my base again. And then wipe your brush off really well because you don't want to get that in your liquids. It'll be kind of icky and gross. And we don't want that. I think I'm just gonna remove this piece because it was just kind of floating. So I'm just removing that one. And I'm just gonna pick this one off too because it just doesn't want to hang on, so that's okay. We're gonna let them free. Okay. So then I'm gonna let this dry for a couple minutes and then we'll activate. So I will see you in a few. So it's been a few moments and I've let it dry for a little bit. It's probably still going to be a little tacky, even if it's been a couple minutes. So we're just going to gently float the activator on top. So I'll show you what I mean by float. So basically you're just, instead of painting on your activator like you normally would, I'm just going to kind of drop it on there and just kind of, because you don't want to get the base contaminated with your activator. So I think that's pretty good. I floated it on there, and then we'll wait our 2 minutes for it to dry, and then we can start filing and buffing. All right, so we activated and we waited 2 minutes and it's completely dry. So what we're going to do, it actually feels pretty flat, which is good. What we're gonna do now is we're going to file and buff. So I'm gonna start by filing because I like to shape the nail first. Everybody has their own preference and their own way of doing things. So whatever makes most sense for you. If there's something that I do that doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. Just do what works for you. There are so many ways that you can apply chunky glitter. You can hand place them, every single one. You can dip into a cupcake liner, you can dip into the jar. I mean, you can pour it over. Really, there are a lot of ways that you can apply it. And you just have to see what works for you. There might be some trial and error, but I really urge you not to give up on chunky glitters because they're so beautiful. And once you figure out a way that works for you to apply them, it's just so worth it, you know, because they're just so pretty and so unique. And I think some are more difficult than others. And once you get used to it, it's really, I don't know, it's really not bad, you know. I'm gonna start buffing, and we don't have to be afraid of ruining this chunky glitter because we have 2 layers of clear to protect it, all our glitter, so you can go to town. You can buff, buff, buff. Just get in there and don't be afraid. I'm gonna get it nice and smooth. And I absolutely love this. I love the stars in this one. Like, I feel like Paparazzi is the perfect name for this because it's so cool. I love the stars, you know. You guys, we're almost done and we're gonna see what it looks like at the very end. So I'm getting really excited. So this looks much better. You can see it's a little dusty, but it's nice and smooth. I filed it down pretty well. I shaped it pretty decently. I'm not gonna worry about this junk down here. It's just a swatch. So I'm not really worried about that. So I'm just gonna dust this off with my glitter brush. Yes, I have a designated glitter brush. Okay. We're gonna activate one more time and then we're gonna top coat. So I'm gonna put on my activator. And look at that, it's already looking so much better. So I'll see you in 2 minutes. All right, we are ready for top coat and I am so excited. This is so smooth now and so pretty and I'm just so excited. So I'm going to do my top coat here. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit just so you can see a little better. I'm still working out the kinks of recording, as you can tell, because I am a new YouTuber. So don't mind my struggles. I'm gonna get there, don't worry. It's gonna be all right. So I've got my top coat ready to go. So the first coat is just kind of a couple quick swipes. So, oh good, I'm on camera. Okay. So I just do a couple quick swipes and then I wipe off my brush. I'm going to give it a minute and then I'm going to do my final layer of top coat, and that's going to be more detailed. So you can get a little more liquid on your brush and just be generous. Just lay it on nice, and you can go a little more detailed. Make sure you get the sides really well. This is beautiful, you guys. I'm in love. So this would look so pretty as a glitter ombre. I feel like that would be so much fun. And I'm really excited to use this on my nails. You guys, this is insane. Look how beautiful. I'm in love, you guys. Look at that. I'll be here all day just admiring. So this is Paparazzi by Fairy Glamor, and it's stunning. I'm definitely going to be wearing this soon, so yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this helps you.